A new pad-printed custom producer has joined the game. Rise Custom just released their first wave of custom pad-printed Imperial officers and asked if I could review them. And since my Imperial collection is pretty lacking, I said yes. They provided me with the 3 full minifigures from their first wave, along with a Grand Admiral test print torso. Starting off with Colonel Yuren, he's kind of a mixed bag. I really like the quality of the printing and the overall design of the torso. I do think that the outline on the code cylinders is too thin to match LEGO style, but the overall shaping is there. I also really like the metallic print on this guy. He's got the most metal on his design, and I think it's very eye-catching. Overall, I think this guy is a great addition to my Imperial ranks. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite Imperial characters, Director Kennic. Starting off with the coolest aspect of this minifigure, he has a double-sided face print. The smiling face I am honestly not the biggest fan of, since it feels a bit like a design you'd see on a late 2000s minifigure. I think if the smirk wasn't as long, it would be better. However, I love the secondary facial expression. This one really captures Ben Mendelsohn's expression for this character. He looks like, "He needs me to come help him build a Star Wars, mate." A little detail I never noticed in the movie is that Kennic actually has whatever this little dot is on the wrong side of his belt. It's awesome that Rise fixed this detail compared to the original LEGO minifigure. Kennic also uses a custom cape that's a pretty nice material. Unfortunately, there's a little chunk missing at the corner. Overall, I think Kennic is my favorite of the wave, but I might be a little biased. And lastly, we have Grand Admiral Pelon, a character who I really do not know much about. I know that Pelon was Thrawn's right-hand man, but I am admittedly not the biggest fan of the expanded universe. With that all being said, I think Pelon looks pretty great. I do like that they made an effort to differentiate Pelon and Yuren, because I'm sure that if LEGO ever made a Colonel Yuren and Pelon in the same era, they'd reuse the same head. And clearly Pelon uses dual molded legs, which is always a plus. Now, to address some issues with these guys, like I mentioned earlier, the outline details for the code cylinders are too thin. I also think the faces are just a tiny bit off. I think a lot of it is in the eyes, but I can't tell if it's the size of the eyes or the spacing. But don't get me wrong, I think these are better than a lot of other customs out there already. And remember, this is the very first wave released by this new pad-printed custom producer. I think with a few tweaks and some feedback from the community, we could have another heavy hitter on our hands. Even though I have some problems with some of the printed detail, overall, these guys are still some very nice quality minifigures that use all official LEGO pieces, and retail for a pretty good price. If any of these caught your eye, I'll link their website in the description and the pinned comment later.
Hey mate, need you to come help me build a Star Wars, mate.